The headlines are very bold and the intentions are very clear. The United States of America under President Donald J. Trump is threatening that if the Nigerian government do not up their game and protect the lives of Christians or Nigerians generally, that they may be forced to take possible actions against the country. And that has already generated a lot of conversation, mixed reactions. While some are saying that this is welcome, other Nigerians are insisting that historical evidences or fact doesn't actually permit for them to supporting this idea, because there are several other examples where full-scale military intervention in sovereignties of countries have led to long-term or long-standing disturbance of peace, that the particular reason that the US intervened in the first place may be achieved in short term, but long term, peace has refused to come to that region. Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, they are classic examples. But what they also do not tell you is that there have been other places or times where the US also had limited or minimal military intervention, worked to restore peace, stabilize regions, and then brought some form of lasting peace to some of these countries. Philippines and Colombia are classic example. The Philippines, talking about Operation Enduring Freedom, where the US provided intelligence-led support, military backing, advisory, and a lot of other things to the Philippines government. Today, they have weakened the insurgents in that country, to the credit, without full-scale war. The US did not use full-scale combat troops, no boots were on the ground, to help Colombia in the plan Colombia to end the counter-narcotics and counter-insurgency war against drug cartels in Colombia. And there's been some relative peace and weakened all of those cartels and drug lords in that country. A lot of people will not tell you this. But sincerely, what are the pros and cons of this thing? Ordinarily, as a Nigerian, this should bother you. The Donald J. Trump threat and messages should bother you. You should not be excited seeing those messages. It gets to show that we have dilapidated to the point where we are our obvious errors are now being noticed by outsiders, where our leaders, our rulers, so to speak, do not see that this is something that they should give urgent attention or maybe declare state of emergency in. That should bother you. So whether you support the US proposed military action in Nigeria, or you think that we are sovereign enough to deal with our problems, then something needs to be done. In any case, like we have now seen, it is not in all cases where the US use full-scale military combat to intervene, to restore peace, stabilize regions in countries. They have also done some form of aid, intelligence, surveillance, funding, support, military equipment. So the goal is that at the moment, if the Nigerian government opt to rather challenge the conversations on the international space rather than deal with the problem internally, then that is where the problem lies. So what the Nigerian government needs to do forthwith is to begin to make urgent moves to ensure that there is relatively political will seen in ending this insurgency. Let's not deny the fact that Christians are being killed on a daily basis in Nigeria. Also, it may also be said that people from other religion have also been killed, but there is a targeted, and you will be taken aback to deny that there is a targeted ethnic religious cleansing going on in the north of Nigeria. If the Nigerian government says they are up to task to dealing with these problems, then let them show it in a politically motivated will, because currently that is not happening. If we don't want the US to invade us because history has not been kind to a lot of the stories related to these circumstances, then let's show the will enough to deal with this problem. So I give Bola Tinubu a couple of ideas or advice that he may want to urgently begin to look at if this should not happen. Number one, show enough political will. It is high time Nigerian government started to condemn violence as it is clearly. The idea of finger rubbing, showbooting, or doing anything to make it look like, okay, it is not violence like that, should stop. Remove human, regional, religious, or even ethnic connotation and sentiment to dealing with violence as it were. They are acts of terrorism and they should be dealt with in that manner. Refocus this government to dealing with security and justice. For example, release the names of Nigerians, groups, governments, associations, organizations that have been involved in acts of terrorism in Nigeria from 1999 to date. Fast track their prosecution and, if possible, send them to jail without any delay. We also need to strengthen military operations in affected areas in this country. There should be more coordinated, rather than this Boy Scout kind of militarization that we do, a more coordinated intelligence gathering and surveillance driven military operations in affected regions. And as it were now, everywhere is an affected region in Nigeria. So we need to reorganize our military to deal with the current challenge of our insecurity. At the moment, we are not doing that. We need to stop, as a matter of urgency, this madness called rehabilitation of terrorists. It should end. State government and state house of assembly should expunge from their laws all of these Sharia-related laws that borders on protecting a religion rather than protecting the state and the fraities in our ethnic nationalities. All of this blasphemy, all of this incitement, hate speech that have been created, that have been rooted from our religious practices and put into our law should be expunged immediately. Again, if we are really serious. Should I remind us that we need to strengthen our border protection and stop or end the illegal arms routes into this country? There is need for that as much as possible. Of course, there is also need to address the root cause of this insurgency. Poverty, marginalization, youth employment, all of this, hunger, they are part of the root causes that has led us to this point. To deal with the problems head on, show enough will, redistribute resources around the country equally, ensure that Nigerians are safer and Nigerians have shared ownership. The idea of shared ownership of this country cannot be overemphasized. That way, a lot of these things will begin to reduce even without military interventions forthwith. I was chatting with a friend and the person suggested that, you see, this thing that Ebele Jonathan was trying to do that, of course, got reversed when he left office, the end to the uneducation and radicalization of the Amajiris in the north should begin forthwith. Whoever is profiting from the uneducation and radicalization of the Amajiris should be brought to book. There should be a reformed Amajiri system to ensure that we start to educate these guys, equip them for modern societies, and not continue to allow people to use them as tools for destabilization and for banditry. And you, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, one of the ways to show that you are tolerant of other religion, you are sensitive, you are smart, and then you do not actually have any form of ulterior motives against Christians in Nigeria, is to forthwith, for 2027 election, you must feed a Christian running mate. That your 2023 ticket reeks of so much intolerance, disrespect, disloyalty, and unpatriotism to a population of Christians of almost 50%. That should not happen again. Whether you are going to win the election or not is inconsequential. But going to the election with another Muslim as running mate would mean that Christians in this country do not have a voice. Again, whether you win the election or not is inconsequential. But you must show to Christians that their voice, their population matters in this country.